Welcome to Comics Now. It's Brian Warshaw here. This week, I am not going to show you my face, and there's a couple reasons for that. One is I don't think you're missing much when you don't see my face. I'm not what you would call classically beautiful. So if I just show you pictures of cool stuff instead of me, well, that's really no big loss. But the main reason is, because I don't mind getting in front of the camera, ugliness and all, the main reason is it takes a lot of extra time to set that up. There's a few extra steps in editing where I'm syncing voice and video, and so this is just a little bit easier today. I don't have a ton of time, but I still wanted to get a video up because it feels like it's been a long time. Life has been crazy. But anyway, getting right down to business, in the past couple of weeks, very recently actually, somebody commented on my video about the Deadpool Taco Truck Edition statue, and I really want to thank him for taking the time to go ahead and comment on that. I think I've mentioned before, I don't have a lot of experience with Deadpool in the past, and I made the mistake, like I often do, of trying to speak intelligently and in an informed way about something that I just don't have a great deal of information on it. So thank you to Harry Ridge for setting me straight on Deadpool, that the goofiness is a development. That's not the way Deadpool initially was. He originally was just a really cool mercenary. And then also setting me straight on the fact that Deadpool likes Mexican food in general. He just gets on chimichangas because it's fun to say. I will just add that, Deadpool is a silly character now. And so I think I still stand by what I said, that at least in terms of how Deadpool is today, I think that the Taco Truck statue is more in line with who the character is now than the previous statue that I had reviewed. But Harry, sorry for getting it wrong in a lot of ways on that video, and thank you for pointing it out and for being pretty cool about it. So I appreciate that. And guys, if I ever say something out of line, set me straight. I don't take that in a bad way. I like that. I like being able to learn and understand things a little better. And I do like being reminded that I ought to keep my trap shut about things that I'm not informed about, or at least get informed about them before I start talking. So anyway, moving right along, it was not a super busy week for comics. For me, it wasn't a super great week of comics. I didn't enjoy a ton of stuff, and then I guess, honestly, I didn't read a ton of stuff either. Things are still kind of busy right now for me. But there were a few books that I read and enjoyed. The biggest surprise for me was the Nightwing Magilla Gorilla Special #1 from DC Comics. This is one of the latest of a recent crop of crossovers between DC and Hanna-Barbera. And much like the DC and Looney Tunes crossovers from a year ago, most of them were kind of so-so, but there were a few that rose to the top. The Deathstroke and Yogi Bear was actually pretty funny. And then this one, Nightwing and Magilla Gorilla, it was actually a really great story, just a great detective story, kind of a noir feel to it, with Nightwing as the detective at the center of that. Just very enjoyable. The artwork, not super distinct, but very functional, very good. The storytelling is good all the way around. And in spite of the very goofy concept of Nightwing teaming up with Magilla Gorilla, Grape Ape shows up too, by the way. In spite of that concept, there are some moments that are genuinely touching, genuinely affecting, and I love that kind of stuff when these bizarre projects actually bear more fruit than what we thought they were going to, and actually make us think and feel things that we never thought they'd be able to. So check out Nightwing Magilla Gorilla Special #1 if you like. I think it's worth your time. Very good book. Next is Midnight Mystery, and if you guys listen to our podcast, then you would know that a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago now, actually, we interviewed somebody named Bernie Gonzalez, and he's the creator of Midnight Mystery from Alterna Comics. And Jay and I both thoroughly enjoyed Midnight Mystery #1, and we told Bernie as much when we interviewed him. We thought that Bernie surprised us with his ability to both write and draw this book well. He's an artist, obviously, and I think he's probably spent more time on artwork in the past. And a lot of times when you have an artist trying to make that crossover, the dialogue doesn't always come out as good as maybe somebody who's put in the hours on working on the writing more so than the artwork. But man, Bernie did a great job on this book, and the book is actually finally out. We had an advanced review copy that we had read before we did the podcast with Bernie. But the book is out. It's out this week from Alterna, just in time for Halloween. It came out on Halloween, actually. And so that's the great detective story as well. And it actually, the artwork works really well on newsprint, which if you're familiar with Alterna Comics, they do everything on newsprint right now. And you get the book for $1.50. That is hands down the greatest value on the shelf this week. Midnight Mystery, a top quality book, really good story, artwork looks fantastic, and $1.50. So if you don't have this yet, you need to find somebody that's got it, and you need to go get it. Psycho KO #2 is also out from Alterna. I don't have my copy yet. I bought a Psycho KO prize pack from Rob Feldman, the creator of Psycho KO, and I'll have my Psycho #2 when that prize pack arrives. I can't wait. Rob, hurry up and get that thing here. Gotta read #2. Psycho's another great series from Alterna. Also another series that looks particularly great on newsprint. Drowned Earth #1. So the big event at DC Comics right now, it's a crossover between the Justice League book and the Aquaman book. The event is called Drowned Earth, and it began this week with Justice League Aquaman Drowned Earth #1. And it's not written by Scott Snyder, who's been writing Justice League. It's written by his, I guess you could still call him his protege, James Tynion. And Tynion, I tend to get mixed results with. I like some of his stuff a lot. I think his creator-owned stuff is probably some of his best. Read some of his book, The Woods, over at Boom Studios, and it's very interesting. And I think written with a bit more confidence than some of his DC work. But anyway, Drowned Earth #1. I thought Tynion did a really good job with this, and the artwork is by Howard Porter. It looks fantastic. This one is a great opener because it's a non-stop action-packed thrill ride, and there's lots of great stuff. Some amazing panels of Aquaman, Black Manta, Mira. It's a good book, and the next issue is, I believe, going to be in Justice League. So next part of the story will be in the next issue of Justice League. And can't wait. Really, really great story. Great artwork. And a good start to an event. I will say I really, really like one of the things that DC started doing with Rebirth that I think was just a fantastic, fantastic move is trying to make events compact. And they didn't really do that with Dark Knight's Metal, so that's the exception. But with events like Justice League versus Suicide Squad, Night of the Monster Men, which played out in the Bat books pretty early on in Rebirth, and now we're looking at Drowned Earth, and there might have been another event along the way. Anyway, they're essentially spreading these events out over a month. They did that with No Justice as well. That's another one, the prelude to Snyder's Justice League run. And I think this is fantastic. If the event is really good, you get to experience that event and see where it starts and where it ends in a fairly short period of time. So if you're somebody that is new to comics and you don't like waiting 6 months to a year and a half to see how a major event plays out, you get it in a much shorter period of time. It's a lot easier to enjoy. You can get the trade earlier if you're waiting for the trade. So you're not completely out of the loop when people start talking about it. And then it's not the case here with Drowned Earth, but if it's an event that you don't particularly care for, and that's how I felt about Night of the Monster Men, that event is not hijacking the books that you read for a year. It's playing out over a much shorter period of time. If you don't like it, it's here and it's gone a lot sooner, and you can move on to the next thing. So I think that was a great move by DC. They need to do more stuff like this. I think it's a really good thing for readers. I imagine it's probably a really good thing for the creators too, because sometimes I suspect it's hard for them to get mired down in an event and feel like they just can't get out of the thing. So very good. Drowned Earth, excellent. As always, I usually pick up a few interesting things at the store or from Amazon or otherwise, and I love showing that stuff to you guys. And I realize that right now, you guys means probably about 5 or 6 people, but as the channel grows, you guys will mean a lot more. And you know what? The 5 or 6 of you that watch these things, I appreciate you guys too. And you guys tend to comment and talk with me too, and I really like that. I love meeting people and talking about comics and comic stuff. So anyway, in my docket for this, I said, neat junk I've picked up. And so the neat junk that I've picked up, I was at Walgreens, where I go a lot because they have lots of cool comic-related merchandise, lots of good Funko stuff, Diamond stuff, some other things as well. And I picked up a Marvel Movie Moments pop set, and it's basically the scene from Avengers 1 where Hulk is smashing Loki. Look at that. That looks absolutely amazing. So beautiful. Great moment in the movie. Very memorable. It never gets old. I just love that moment. It's fantastic stuff. That one moment makes up for what I would consider inadequate CGI on Hulk for the rest of the movie. Just really awesome. This one's great. Find this one at your local Walgreens. It's exclusive to Walgreens, so you can't find it anywhere else except for eBay, and you're going to pay through the nose. And next up, we have the Aquaman film DC Multiverse figures. So I got Aquaman himself, and I got Black Manta. These figures look really, really good. I don't think the quality, though, on these is quite where the Marvel Legends figures are at. And these are made by Mattel, Marvel Legends made by Hasbro. Just the quality of the finish on these doesn't feel quite as good. Manta looks awesome, but I noticed looking at him that his head is actually off-center on his neck. Almost like his neck is connected off-center inside of the head. So that's kind of weird. You don't really notice it when you're just looking at the figure, but when you get up close to it and you start trying to move the head around, it is noticeable, and that's kind of weird. But that said, I still really like them, and I'm glad that I got them. I love how they did Black Manta for this film, and I can't wait to actually see it play out in December. And the figure does capture that. Aquaman looks great too. Very good take on the more classic costume. I was tempted to buy Mira and Orm so that I could do the Build-A-Figure. But Jay talked me off the ledge because I didn't really want Mira or Orm. They're good figures, but I wouldn't get them otherwise, and I'll pass on the Build-A-Figure. It's nobody particularly distinct anyway. It's kind of a drone soldier, I think from the trench or something like that in the movie. So next up, we have another Aquaman thing. I reviewed for Batman News this week the Diamond Select Aquaman comics-based gallery statue, and this one's really, really awesome. It was really, really difficult to get that trident in his hands, but other than that, it's a fantastic statue. Love it. If you're an Aquaman fan, if you're a DC fan in general, and you want an Aquaman piece in your collection, this thing is gorgeous. It's nice and big, and I think it would look great. It looks really great next to the recent Superman that came out as well, so it's a good one. Finally, last, certainly not least, I got my pre-order for the Batman the Animated Series Deluxe Limited Edition Blu-ray set. I haven't had a chance to watch much yet. I just got into a little bit of the first episode of the series on Leather Wings featuring Man-Bat, and it looks and sounds excellent. Without a doubt, looks and sounds better than the standard definition versions that I've seen on Amazon, and then on iTunes, and then on DC Universe. I think DC Universe has the standard def versions as well. So that's fantastic. All of the material that comes with it, the booklet, the cards, all of that stuff is great. The only thing that's kind of meh are the 3 little Funko figures. Now, it wasn't, at least to me, it wasn't obvious in the advertising, but these are basically pocket pop keychains without the chain and without the hole for the chain to go into the head. And so that's not... there's nothing wrong with those. Those are great. I love them. My kids love them. I love them on my keys, but they're not the most detailed Funko figures. And in this case, they're not really animated series specific. It's kind of an odd choice to put those in there. You've got really great packaging, really, really nice bonus physical features with the cards, the way that the discs are packaged, and when you're flipping through the portfolio of discs, it's just beautiful in there as well. And then you've got kind of the bottom of the barrel in terms of Funko construction and paint quality. The pocket pops are things that get tossed around and smashed up in your pocket, and they reflect that in the way that they look, or the way that they're painted. So yeah, that was an odd choice, but other than that, I can ignore that. Really excited to have the animated series in HD, and I just love what they did with this release. Can't wait to watch it all the way through again. So that's it for me for this week. If you guys are interested in anything that I've talked about today, please let me know in the comments. If you want to read more of what I'm writing, what Jay's writing, comics news, all sorts of interesting stuff, head over to our website at comics-now.com. Find our podcast in iTunes, Google Play, and wherever else you might find your podcasts. And until next time, I'm Brian Warshaw, and this is Comics Now.